Hey guys, welcome to episode 22 of Simple Ken. There's no guest on this episode, it's just you and I. Hey guys, how are you guys doing? It's been a 2-week gap. This was a conscious effort. I didn't delay it. It wasn't delayed by accident. I just felt like the last 3 episodes came back to back. And I think all of you didn't have the time to catch up on them. So I thought let's give a 2-week breather to this episode. And I got some insane questions for this one. There are some episodes where I do genuinely say I was not happy with the questions. But this episode was mind-blowing. And wait, how many comments are there on the video? There are 400 plus the 80 on Instagram. So it was quite a task to go through all of them. Also, I want to address a couple of things. I saw a comment on Simple Ken where some follower was feeling bad for me, saying that there was a time when Kenny's videos used to get millions of views and now it's barely getting 50k. Guys, it's okay. First of all, it's a 47-minute video. So don't worry. Don't be worried about this series. 47,000 people listening to a guy talk for 47 minutes is insane, right? So 50k to 100k is amazing. So don't worry. And also, this is not rehearsed, unlike stand-up, which is a properly packaged, and like those stand-up videos, I've been doing it for like 8 months or a year and then I release it. So no wonder they do well. So don't worry about this series. It's not going to go away. A lot of people are like, oh, after the pandemic is over, Kenny's going to stop this again. And someone rightfully pointed out that I did this before the pandemic happened. Speaking of pandemic, that's how I sneeze. I started this before the pandemic. So this is not going to go anywhere. Don't worry. I will continue doing this. I really like it. So do you want to address those 2 things? And also, somewhat on the last episode said, I find this very boring, and all of you attacked them. I think it was a her. Again, it is boring. And also, not everything has to be entertaining. Nothing's going to be entertaining for 47 minutes unless it's a TV show like Game of Thrones with $1 million budget, millions of dollars budget. So again, if you don't want to watch me talk for 45 minutes, I would highly recommend don't watch this. It's not entertaining. And no one usually does watch such long content. And it is for the few of you who do, because I always wanted to do something like this and never had the guts to do it. And I realized that most people have YouTube channels where it only does one thing. Like one big example is Epic Rap Battles of History. I don't know if you've seen it. They used to have a channel, and Epic Rap Battles was one of the things in the channel. And everyone requested make it a separate channel. And they did that because it's a company, right? With a lot of people with many series and producers. My page is not a company, it's just me. So I want my YouTube channel to reflect that. So it's going to have a podcast. It's going to have a 10-minute sketch video. It's going to have stand-up. It's going to have chai time. It's going to have vlogs. So it might be confusing to people who are used to like conventional YouTube channels. Even my Instagram is like that. A lot of people say, make Ken and Chip a separate channel. And I'm like, no, it's actually who I am. And the context of knowing me makes the comic series more fulfilling. Speaking of context, I got a question just about this. It's by Jesse James J. And he says, what a smooth segue to the question, if you noticed. In an earlier episode with Naveen Richard, you guys said you were huge fans of Seinfeld. However, I've tried watching his show and stand-up clips over and over, but did not find them that entertaining. Some of my friends share the same opinion too, which is why it baffles me when 2 of the best comedians in India say they worship him. Okay, we didn't say we worship Seinfeld, but 2 of the best comedians in India. Hey man, calm down, bro. Is there something I, as a layman, am missing? No disrespect to Mr. Seinfeld. Not trying to be a snob. I'm just a comedy enthusiast trying to understand why. P.S. I'm a comedy consumer only and haven't written a single joke yet in all my life. Wow, this guy is very careful and he's like, yo, I'm not saying I know your job. A very genuine question, and you put it so well and politely, overly polite, that I felt I should answer this. Context in comedy or context in content is a very interesting thing. I saw a podcast by Andrew Schultz, and he was talking about how if this generation understands Dave Chappelle, because if you're not seen Dave Chappelle in his heyday, if you see Dave Chappelle now, he's just preaching the whole time, which I freaking love. But if you're a comedy enthusiast and you watch it, you're like, where are the jokes? This is some sentimental bullshit. He's just talking about his feelings. And it makes sense to me because I have context. So Seinfeld is context heavy. If you have seen how he went from a stand-up comedian to writing a show, and writing a show that didn't have a conventional format. Back then, sitcoms had a very conventional format. This is about a family. This is about two people living in a city. Or this is about friends. But Seinfeld was very bizarre for its time. Where, and I know I use the word bizarre a lot. Okay, you guys have been commenting that. Thanks for making me aware of. Thanks for taking away one other thing that makes me happy. Anyway, I'm kidding. So it had a very unique premise. It had characters that were not necessarily likable. It had a very strong female lead who was hilarious back then. And apparently when I read about it, I don't know how true this is. Elaine, the character of Elaine, was a studio note. And they didn't have a female character in the show. And they added her after the studio note, where studio note is a studio giving feedback to a show. And she became such an integral part of the show. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus is an incredible actress who did Veep after that. And so many other things. So back then, having such a strong female lead who's also so funny and integral to a plot was unheard of. Not unheard of, it was not as much, and it was a good show. She was not relegated to the wife or the whatever friend. She was like a character of her own, and she was hilarious. So you have all that context. You also have the context of this guy who came on all the late night shows and established himself as this comic, and the sheer confidence he had, even though he was a new comic, was also very unheard of. Like now you have like anyone's cocky and confident now. Back then people are very formal, and so all this context kind of makes Seinfeld fun. And also he's clean, which is also strange because stand-up technically was an art form about being honest and brash, and two schools of thought came out of it, right? So Richard Pryor was brash, Eddie Murphy was brash, while ironically Cosby was the clean and Seinfeld was clean. So all these things make Seinfeld very interesting. And no comedian had such an insanely successful series, right? Like Everybody Loves Raymond, I think came after Seinfeld. So he kind of started the trend of, he's not good looking, he's not a fantastic actor, why does this show work? And he also co-wrote the show with Larry David. So all these things make him very interesting. I completely agree. He's might not be the funniest roll on your belly laughing comedian, but I like him for very different reasons also. I like him because of how stable his mental health has been. I like how enterprising and successful he is as a businessman. I also like him being clean. I also like how, I think I said that before, that when I was a kid, I watched, the first comedian I ever saw was Seinfeld. And I did not know what he was doing was comedy. And I saw the show Seinfeld and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And in the break, he used to tell jokes to the audience. And I was like, why isn't the whole show this? Because I love this. That's when I discovered stand-up. And it was incredible to me that a Jewish guy from New York who is 4 decades older than me, I could relate to, and I was laughing with him. So that was incredible to me. And it's cause of his writing. So yeah, so this is why. So if you look at a comic that everyone loves and you don't understand why, most probably they're an older comic, and most probably there's a lot of context that you don't understand. Star Wars is kind of like that. Like if you see the new Star Wars movies, you're like, I don't see the big deal. But if you were young and you saw the initial Star Wars, so this new movie has a lot of context. It doesn't make it good or bad. It's just context adds a lot of value to things. So it's almost like, it's a very interesting, this topic. It's endless. It's how there is content which you don't need context for, and there's content which you need a lot of context for. And usually I've noticed things with context give you way more emotional satisfaction. If you watch one episode of a series, you're like, I'm not feeling it. But if you watch season 3, episode 7, a minor thing has a huge effect on you, right? Because the show's writers and creators have created so much context for a character that if a character just says, you know what, I'm going to ask her out, as the novice, you're like, what's the big deal? But if you have the context, you're like, oh my God, this character asking her out is a huge deal. And you start associating your achievements with this character. So context usually builds a lot of emotional reaction. So unfortunately, content that requires context takes a lot of time, because we love instant gratification. So things that don't need context usually do well. For example, TikTok or Reels or 10-minute stand-up clips or a short series which is 20 minutes or 30 minutes versus a 1-hour series. Like people say, like, I don't have the time to invest. But if you get into it, the satisfaction is so much, right? I don't think you ever regretted watching a series and it's good and you're like, man, every episode is so fulfilling. You don't get that from a non-context piece of content. Same thing. Dave Chappelle might not be the funniest punchline comic right now, but the satisfaction I get from him talking about his history is amazing. So yes, great question, dude. Thanks for asking. Okay, so Faze Shrey asks, hi Kenny, recently Candace Owens made a statement, bring back manly men, on Harry Styles' Vogue cover, in which he's wearing a dress. Just wanted to know what you think makes a man, and also can society go strong with vulnerable soft guys who wear dresses, as she points out that no society can go without strong men. Thanks, Simple Ken. Okay, just for context, if people don't know who Candace Owens is the Arnab of America. So she says a lot of things to get into the press, as many people do. So, and actually, no, it's not just her. A lot of people criticize Harry Styles for wearing, I think this is the picture. And first of all, I love Harry Styles, okay? And I didn't even know about his, I mean, I know he's from One Direction, but I don't even follow his music that much. I see his interviews and he's such a fun, happy, comfortable guy. And he's like very good looking and very comfortable with who he is. I last night saw the SNL videos. He was on Saturday Night Live and he was doing a great job. This is very interesting because I've struggled with this whole manly man thing my entire life, and I learned a lot from my dad. So my dad is very in touch with his emotions, and he's way more has way more feminine qualities than my mom does. And I associated that with other men, and I realized that's such a high expectation because my dad is technically a dad and a mom. I mean, no offense to my mom. My mom's great. So when I met other men in my life, I was just like, why aren't you emotionally aware of your feelings and why aren't you empathetic? Because my dad is like that. And I realized that, oh shit, my dad has put a very bizarre high standard for men. And ironically, my mom's more masculine. So I have a masculine expectation from women, which is interesting. I sound like I'm generalizing, but obviously you can't forget the influence your parents have. And I realized I like women who have more masculine qualities. So, and I like to be around men who have feminine qualities. Like I can't be around guys who are not sweet or empathetic or kind, or I'm not saying these are just feminine qualities. I mean, men can also be that, but you know what I'm saying, right? I can't be around manly men because I feel it's terrible that, you get trapped in this emotionless. I love hugging my male friends. I love telling them I miss them. I think that's a wonderful way. I also like to acknowledge if they're feeling sad. And I think this is something that guys, I mean, if you do it, great. If you don't, I mean, this is my perspective. So when Harry Styles wears a dress and he's not getting support, First of all, it's a very bizarre situation because Harry Styles is from One Direction. He's very successful. He's very good looking. And this does not affect him in any way. He's not being, what is the word? He's not being oppressed by any way. But I would think more about this if it was not Harry Styles who wore a dress, but a regular dude who's not that good looking and famous wore a dress. And how would people react? And he looks amazing in that dress, by the way. So I just feel this goes into the category of she's being mean. She's allowed to express what she feels. She's famous, so we know what she feels. But if you two were at home and you saw the Vogue cover of Harry Styles and said that, oh, he looks girly and I don't like this, that's okay, right? Because you can say what you want. So going after Candace doesn't make sense. But she is being mean. So if you bitch about someone in the comfort of your home or friends, it's not about being right or wrong. You're being mean. But you can say what you want to say. And you can also be mean and be nice. So this is not that deep. I just say whenever there's like, how can someone say this about someone? How can you? I'm like, you have to realize that we have freedom of expression. So you can't only want nice things. But you can say, hey, you're being mean. That's allowed. And they're allowed to be mean. But you don't have to be friends with them. So you can ask them to get lost. So again, I got another question about Harry Styles early. About this. So man's man, I said I was struggling with this because when I was growing up, I was okay with being vulnerable and I was okay to admit things and I was okay to say like, I don't have this figured out. And I think that was not considered manly. And the first time I started noticing this was when I was in a band and my bandmate had very masculine characters and I had little more feminine characters, but we were both good looking. So the women that approached us were very interesting. Women that approached, again I'm generalizing, but I found it interesting. Women who approached him were women who wanted manly men, but they were very feminine. And women who approached me wanted a guy who was empathetic and soft, but they were not super girly, which I liked. So I was like, oh, it's about balance, I guess. And I think this comes from the fact that men and women are different, and they should be, because it's amazing that we're different. So we complement each other and we can work together as a society before you guys think I'm saying women and men a certain way. But I found it very interesting how we always get into a relationship that kind of complements each other in a good way or bad way. You can have a submissive and a dominant person coming together, which is not a great relationship, but it's kind of complementing each other. Otherwise, they're going to stand each other. Same thing with, I think, I don't think I can be with someone who would totally depend on me completely. Nothing wrong with that. But I know a lot of guys who would love that, who get a sense of purpose that, yeah, you're dependent on me. I feel like a man. Otherwise, what's the point of relationship? For me, it's the opposite, that if you depend on me, then you should get a dad. I'm sorry, that's sweet. Same thing with me. I think if I am a guy and I want to be treated like a guy, like, I don't know how to fold my clothes, or I'm a guy, I don't cook. Stupid it is. So, but again, for me, if you're like that and you're in a relationship and it works for you, good for you. So, yeah, but now I'm much more comfortable with it. Now I'm like, yo, I'm this wonderfully feminine, empathetic guy, and my friends appreciate that. And I'm with people like that, and I realize how cool my dad is. So, good for me. This name I can't pronounce. It's spelled Nigazhe. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I won't. Hi Kenny, hope you and your family are doing good. Thanks for taking time and making this wonderful show both in audio and video. Oh, you're welcome. I watch this on YouTube and listen to it on a podcast when I go for a walk. Makes me feel like having a deep conversation with a friend. That is the purpose, actually. Audio gives me a different perspective sometimes to catch up on things that I miss while watching. Thank you, and it's been great. That's also a very interesting perspective. I realize that you can listen to me and do other stuff. I live in New Zealand and working here. Awesome place. Being an introvert, living alone never bothered me and often enjoyed #me time. Now, pandemic and work from home for almost 1 year makes me realize /hit that I don't have friends here, and few friends I can call are in different time zones or married. I like how being in a different time zone and being married is the same thing, that they're not accessible. Classic. Yo, when I'm married, I'm going to keep talking to all my friends, hopefully. Have one friend, also my next of kin. She's kind of bully, but since I don't have anyone else, I put up with her nonsense. Oh no. Nothing major, so it's fine. Okay, great. I feel it's not easy to make friends at this age, 32. I'm always wondering, how did we make friends at school or college or even at work? What is that we are lacking when we grow old? I feel it'll be creepy to go and talk to someone at gym or at bookstore and expect them to meet for coffee. How to make friends, not date friends. Okay. NIGAZHE. I don't know who you are, but you are single and you've gone to New Zealand and you're working. So I'm guessing you're really good at your job. And not many people can do this. So you're kind of more intelligent than most people. I'm assuming. I'm just giving you benefit of the doubt. You are 32, okay? And it's great. This pandemic has made a lot of people realize that you have to invest in your social life. I figured this out by going to therapy for years, and because I have the luxury and the money and the time to do it. But this pandemic forced everyone to just acknowledge the bizarre relationships they have with their family and friends. And I took this question because I know everyone's going through this, and I kept trying to push this because I thought my main focus in life is to be financially independent, figure my career. Either friends and all I can figure out. Nope. It's a huge part of your life. And once you crossed 40, 50, 60, that's all you'll have. It's your friends, it's your family, it's your relationships. If you don't have a strong, and these things build through time. So let's look. First, being an introvert, I don't know when this got flipped. Before, being introvert was bad. Now being introvert is cool. Yo, there's nothing good about not having good social skills, okay? You should be upset that that's a part of your life that you've not worked on. Even if you're introverted, you should just work on it. Like anything else. If you're bad at making food, learn it. It's a good skill to have. If you're bad at talking to people or want to make friends and you feel bad about it, work on it. Don't take it lightly. So make an effort. Yeah, you're right. It seems very awkward to go to someone and talk to them at the gym. It is not, dude. It's very, in the beginning, it seems very hard. I'll just give you an example. You go to the water place to get water, and someone could come and you could just fake a question saying, hey, how do you get cold water? And they would help you out, and you'd be like, oh, thanks, I'm sorry, I'm new here, I don't know how to use it. And them, if they are nice, will be like, oh, where are you from? Boom, conversation. Okay, and I know if you don't do it, you will never find out, because the pros and cons of asking a very simple question. The pros are much higher. Simple question like, hello, good morning. They won't be like, how dare you speak to me, you freak. But they'll never do that. But the pro is that they might become a friend eventually. And just be patient. Also, don't ask someone for coffee the moment you meet them. That's too soon. You'll find out all of this when you start putting yourself out there. And I'm glad you realize this, that you realize what an empty life it is without friends and family. So please invest in it. Okay, have faith in you, buddy. And you're 32, shut up, you're not old. God damn it. It's not easy to make friends. Nothing is easy. And as you get older, it's very hard to fit into a swing and go into a playground as well. Okay? Things just change. So I hope this helped. I know I'm so angry. Finally, the last question for this episode is by Jayadev Jayaraj. Oof, JJ. I really found this question interesting. This kind of comes back to that man's man question in a weird way. This is not really a question, but more of a thought and a request. Even though I've been watching your stuff for a while, I could only admit to myself that I'm a fan of your work after I started watching Simple Ken. When I was in school and college, I was in a phase where anything that's not dark, including comedy, is too mainstream, and mainstream sucks. Basically, I was an edgelord. It's such a great word, edgelord. I just want to Google edgelord and tell you what's the definition of edge. An edgelord is someone on an internet forum who deliberately talks about controversial, offensive, taboo, or nihilistic subjects in order to shock others in an effort to appear cool or edgy. Such a great word. And I thought you were too much of a princess because of your content. Aging a little made me realize how childish I was. Okay. Jaraj, just because you're being nice and you're a fan now, calling me a princess is pretty mean. But I get what you're saying. This is what I struggle with. That I came across so soft or feminine that most guys are like, yeah. But I'm like, it's cool, man. I still got muscles. Yeah, so if you look at my personality, I have certain aspects of me which are very manly man and certain aspects which are very feminine. Like I love motorcycles. I love doing stuff that's adventurous and risky, which I think is associated with manly man. And I go to the gym, but at the same time, I enjoy simple things like food and going out and pretty things and beautiful things and animals. So yeah, I get it, bro. This is how most guys react to me. I think Tanmay had said in some podcast that guys say I feel more comfortable with my female friends than my guy friends, and he was like, yeah, obviously, because women have a higher EQ, so you feel comfortable emotionally and you feel safe, and guys are just dicks who just put each other down. I mean, my guy friends are nice. So I really found this question interesting. Okay, so he goes on to say, and he said, aging a little made me realize how childish I was, which is very mature of you to admit on a public platform. Listening to Simple can actually increase my respect towards you, and I actually ended up appreciating you and your work a lot more. I'm glad it did, man. I admire your work ethic, and I'm probably a bit jealous too, because discipline is a skill that I have a hard time mastering. Man, that takes a lot to say, dude. And I'm scared of my work ethic. So far, I've been able to maintain it. But it's not easy for me as well. It takes a lot of effort to keep going. As Dave Chappelle says, keep moving forward. It's very hard to do that. There's so much negativity, dude. Holy shit. And I've seen internet grow from 2007. And back then, they used to just say, you suck. Now the hating is so nuanced. Like they make it personalized and shit. Oh my God, it's really painful. And every day I put something out, right? Every other day at least. And it's like you put yourself through rejection every day. And I don't know why I do. This is why I go for therapy, dude. It's just that the amount of rejection I go through and I put myself through willingly is insane. And no healthy person should do that to themselves. I hope you don't stop putting up the long recordings of you talking after the pandemic, even though I realize it would be hard to produce this while doing stand-up full-time. Anyways, I love your work and pardon my fractured train of thought. No, not at all, Jayadev. And as I said, this was started before the pandemic. And thank you for this backhanded compliment. But I took this question up because a lot of the female fans are incredibly sweet and very expressive, and they constantly shower me with wonderfully positive messages, and I always read them, and I'm sorry if it feels like I don't acknowledge them. But the male fans, when they say stuff like this, as a guy, I know what's going on in their head, and it's very interesting to watch a guy come to terms with his emotions. It's amazing. It's like my favorite show. It's like context. It's like he gave us so much context. He gave us context of how he was and now how he's feeling and how he kind of was disappointed in himself. And there's also still some reluctance in like saying nice things about me. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. But it's such a nuanced and such a layered comment. And I read it, I was like, 100% I have to talk about this. And this happened to me also with so many artists. Actually, I used to feel this way about AIB, and I don't think even they know this, was I saw them and I used to be like, they're just a hack. They're just doing everything that works. And I was jealous of their work ethic. I was jealous, like, how are they keeping up with everything all the time? and you realize that most of your hate comes from envy. Some hate is genuine, like some people are genuinely terrible people and love to watch the world burn. But most of the time it's just, and you just do this in the privacy of your brain. You're like, I have learned this amazing lesson, but I don't need to admit it publicly. So Jayadev putting this out publicly is a huge deal, and I appreciate that. So anyway, that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening to me. I had a blast talking to you guys. This is episode 22. Next episode is going to be 23. And also, audio listeners, thank you for listening to my sweet, sultry voice. Yeah. Hope you finish what you were doing while you were listening. Okay, that sounds dirty. So have a good day and a good week and a good month. You can listen to me on all audio platforms like Google and Apple Podcasts. If you're an Apple user, by the way, the podcast app is already on your phone. So yeah. And people watching on YouTube, you're the OGs, man. And please leave questions. I think people now are just so sweet and leave nice comments. You can leave a question on the YouTube comment with the hashtag SimpleKen, so I know that's a question and not just a comment for the video. Or you can go to SimpleKen Podcast, the Instagram thing. There it's kind of easier for me to take questions because lesser followers, so the questions are easier to find. Lesser comments also. I think there were 73 comments on the last post, which is also high, but easier than 400 comments. Look at me complaining about my followers. But yeah, guys, again, I just don't want to say goodbye. Don't want to say goodbye, but I have to. Okay, guys, bye bye, tata.